paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to...
Whoa. I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready.
No. Try again.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery.
Now I'm
This
ready.
episode is what you... Now you're ready? Good,
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason. This is what you're going to call
I'm ready too, Corbin.
Good, DJ. I trusted in you, by the way. I had faith in you.
I don't want to ruin any more takes, so just letting
Okay.
you know that when you want to start the podcast, I'm ready.
Good. Well, you know what? I think that was a perfect intro.
I see what you did there, but they don't. So, like, you made a pun just for me and DJ.
No, I'm just talking about the new secret lair, Perfection. The second cat secret lair coming out. This one you
Makes
can
me want
only
to purge the contents of my stomach.
Yeah, well, the great part about this secret lair is that you can only get it at PulseCon 2021, whatever the hell that is, which means it comes with a little side of Rona if you want it. So that's neat.
That's why it's called PulseCon, because they have to
Check your pulse when you're
take
in
your
the hospital.
vitals. Take your vitals 2 weeks later after you go to the convention.
Well, yeah, we get Chain Lightning, Generous Gift, Heirloom Blade, and Kodama's Reach as cats. And I have to say, this art, which our editor is putting on the screen right now, is pretty cool.
What if he doesn't?
Well, that would be...
That would be a great
unfortunate.
physical bit. If he's like, I ran out of time, editor.
I ran out of time getting the cast out 72 hours early. So it's not there. Have you seen the art for this Generous Gift? Okay, it's just cool.
It's not my favorite.
It's
magic art.
catastrophic. You can't just say it's bad. You have to make a pun. It's fine, but I can't think of a word with cat in it that expresses that I like it. So I'm just going to say it's catastrophic. And I would rather make a pun than have people know how I really feel about a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That explains
Because-
so much about you.
I mean, that's why when someone comes up to Jason at events, back in the before times, and says, it's cool to meet him or whatever, he's like, why? You. I
I never said F you to a fan. I have called them nerds and slapped a playmat out of a guy's hand.
That's all right. I dumped a beer on a patron's EDH deck, so...
That was at Indy.
Are they
Yep.
still a patron?
That was not at Indie, DJ. That was at Vegas. 2017, maybe 2015.
Are they still a patron after that?
I don't know. I know they were after that because I sent them. Look, we were at the Command Zone party before the Command Zone party was part of the GP, when it was just a thing that Josh and Jimmy were hosting on their own. And we hung out and we played, and it was very fun. Everyone had a good time, and there were very little walkways because it was a very popular event. And I did kind of bump into a table and knock someone's drink over onto their playmat. All the cards were fine. So I sent them a very special, valuable top 8 playmat that I had gotten from the very first Magic event at DreamHack. They said I had to. They requested that I sign it, which I did, and I sent them a bunch of Masters packs with it. So I did my best to make it right, but it was a little awkward when I was like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry," blah blah blah, and they're like, "Oh, this is awkward. I'm a member of your Patreon," and I was like, "Oh shit." And
How
then
did
Jason called him a
we
nerd.
suffer more from that story than the person who
Yeah,
had their
send me
property
some Masters
destroyed? Like,
packs for
yeah, like
reflecting that
where's
story
our
on me.
recompense for the story?
Jesus.
Anyways,
One
so that's
time I
the
spilled a
secret
guy's
lair.
beer and it was largely his fault. Right?
How many
Because it
beers
was
have
on
you
the
spilled
it was
on
on the
people?
table with
I
his
mean-
cards.
That's one way to. I mean, that is a fair way to look at it. If it was on the floor, that wouldn't have happened.
I would have sent him like a big box. He's like, "Oh, it's a package for Jason." It's just inside. It's just a handwritten note. It's like, "Don't put your fucking beer on the table, dude."
That would have actually.
I wouldn't sign it.
if I had more faith in the USPS over the last 5 years, that actually would have been pretty funny to send him that box and then immediately follow it up with the good box.
And then the good
that would
box
have been a
gets
good
lost.
thing.
You're like, how
Yeah,
did you like my
exactly.
my joke? I was like, yeah, real funny.
You just see this guy years later at an event. He just sneaks up behind me and just throat punches me for being an asshole to him. And I'm like, what? I sent you so much cool stuff. And they never arrived. Anyways, if you like Secret Layers and you want to get a little Rona while you're at it, you can go get this neat.
One does not simply
cat
get a
layer.
little Rona. You either get no
It's
Rona or
yeah.
you have to go down to the farm and fleet and buy the last of their ivermectin.
Down that thing, yeah. Think about all the cows that are missing out, right? All
Yeah,
the parasites
right?
running loose in cows because of people taking their ivermectin.
They're so mad at the liberal sheep that they're depriving real sheep of their deworming pills.
Wolves don't share, Jason.
Inside of me are two wolves. Neither of them share.
One of them has corona.
All right, let's move on out of that before we alienate any more listeners here. Anyway,
Inside of me are two wolves.
Man.
Both of them are. Each one of them has a goalpost, and they're moving it.
At this point, there's no one left to alienate, dude. They're either like they're fully on board with our rhetoric, or they're on a ventilator right now. Like, there's no one left to alienate.
somebody somewhere, Jason, is sitting at a hospital waiting desperately for an ICU bed that's not yet available, and the only thing keeping them strong is looking forward to this podcast, and you just came in here and shit on them.
At that
Well,
point,
like the guy who had a beer on his playmat, you got what you fucking deserved.
All right, moving on. It's time for Breaking Bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
I have one that you may describe as bullshit, and then I have another backup one.
See,
Okay.
you've been playing this game long enough that your picks haven't improved, but your prediction of my reaction to your picks has improved.
Yeah, his awareness at least has improved.
So, the first one is a Gold Border Commander card.
Get the fuck out of here.
What is that? What does that mean?
You know the Merfolk deck I gave you? Or
Okay,
it's a Gold Border
it's a
card.
Gold Border Sylvan Library.
It's a staple in Commander that is worth a lot more than you think it is. Like, you're like, the real version of this card is worth a lot. The gold version of this card is worth, holy crap, that is a close number. That is what my pick is.
Almost as much as the...
Yes, the Gold Border one is worth like 80% or so of the real one.
Jesus. Is it Undiscovered Paradise?
No.
Tell me
it's
whose
a mega
deck
staple.
it was in.
That's a great question that I should have prepared an answer to.
Tell me the year, maybe. Yeah, I have a bunch of gold bordered stuff because
It is from the 2001 Tom Vandello APC deck, and it is a black card.
Necropotence.
No.
Oh, 2001. Is it Phyrexian? No, Phyrexian Negate is not a good card.
Oh, no. You were close.
Phyrexian Arena.
Yep, the Gold Border Phyrexian Arena is worth $18.
Get out of here. What?
But you would find this in, like, this is absolutely something.
I have so many gold bordered cards just because, like, I would get them in a collection and just like, well, I'm not throwing these out. And Bouchard's like, these are going to be valuable someday. I'm like, you're a moron.
He did say that quite a bit, and we did not believe him.
But also, I called him a moron, but then I set all my gold bordered stuff aside. So perhaps I owe him an apology.
You'd have to find him. He
For
lives
calling
in the
him
world.
Phyrexian Can't Walker on the first time I was on the podcast.
This is just one that I was looking up, and I just had to do a double take. I was like, is this an outlier? No, there are several last sold listings for this card at $18 for the gold border version, when the black border version is worth roughly $20 to $25. So, like, that is an absurd number.
pick, but that is good information. I'll give you that.
And I mean, like, it's also just indicative that you should probably be picking up the ones that are extremely cheap, because Commander players are very much willing to accept you playing these in the decks.
Like,
they're not
imagine not being okay with like a nice proxy,
right,
but being okay
like,
with this. Like,
I mean, look, once they printed Secret Lair Walking Dead, all cards were on the table.
I want to know the opinion of everybody. So the Venn diagram, right, where it's like on the right, it's like people who do not want you to play a proxy in a friendly EDH game, and then the left circle is people who are fine with you playing a gold bordered card in a friendly EDH game. I want to see like the people in the middle that are like,
one of these is okay, and one isn't.
Yeah, fine with the gold bordered, not fine with the proxy. I want to know what that person's opinion is about everything else. It'd be crazy. That's like the people that are like, I'm fiscally conservative but socially liberal. Like, I want to know what all their dumb opinions are.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this out for you, though.
I think that the deciding line for those people is that this was printed by Wizards of the Coast. That is their line in the sand, is that like this card was put in a Wizards printer and created and sold by them. So I think they'd be fine with like CE or IE.
Yeah, therefore that Gaia's Cradle is $900. It just makes sense.
There's actually a handful of formats. Canadian Highlander comes to mind, where you actually are allowed by the rules, the arbitrary rules of that format, to play gold bordered cards. But I don't know that means that people would. That doesn't necessarily mean that people who play that format at, for instance, a tournament at an LGS are going to be cool with you proxying, like a really expensive deck. You know, like at least you've spent your $18 on the Phyrexian Arena. There's the corner cases, obviously, but I can see something.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this isn't pick of the week yet, but I mean, this is definitely something where I would advocate you if you are buying collections, or if you're just in the process of like going through stores bulk or whatever, and you just find gold border cards. I don't think you should be like pulling out Forests or Llanowar Elves or things like that, but just any card that you think, oh, this is played in a regular Commander deck, you should absolutely be picking that card out and putting it, setting it aside, or just looking it up, like Sylvan Library, even just Lords of Atlantis or Lord of the Undead, just random stuff like that is just absolutely worth pulling out.
And the cards came with some blank. Those decks came with blank cards that made good proxies back in the day. Yep. And I found all of mine, and I'd written on all of them. I proxied an entire Merfolk deck on, like, those I was going to ask proxies that were just free.
Yeah.
And then, like, 10 years ago, everyone's like, yeah, those proxies are like $5 each now because... And now it's like, oh, yeah, we figured out how to print on the back of a card, too. It's fine.
I mean, yeah, they're like $2 a piece. Just even those blank cards would be a good breaking bulk. They're like $2.
Have you all ever played Commander with somebody who abused proxies, though?
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, like, that feels bad.
It does, but it's at that point, it is not the proxy that is making that person...
I agree. Well, I mean, yeah.
I bought a card from him, and I gave him a piece of paper that I wrote $10 on, and he didn't think it was funny.
Yeah, well, at my LGS, we had an issue with one player in particular who would just proxy up very expensive Commander decks, and it would be 100 card proxies show up and just curb stomp people who were playing cards they actually owned. So it's like, no one cares if you proxy 10 cards in your Commander deck while you track them down or whatever, but there is a line. It's about
getting the table on your side. If the table thinks it's absurd that a card that just hasn't been printed in forever and is like $35, like something like Concordant Crossroads that's like not reserve list and just like they could reprint it but just haven't. Like, if the whole table thinks that card is so absurd in price, you know, and that's the absurd part, they'll probably be fine with the proxy. But if they think it's absurd that you think it's okay to show up with a $9,000 deck that you spent $0 on, if that's the absurd thing, the table is not going to be on your side. So really, it's just about getting people to sympathize with you. And if you're pub stomping people with cards you don't own, good luck.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even think it's the cards you own part of that's the issue. It's just if you're pub stomping people, if your intent is to play at a different power level than the rest of the group intentionally, then that's the issue. Like, you could have somebody with a $1,000 deck that they have no intentions of owning, but if it's like tribal Pegasuses or whatever, then like, I don't care. So like it's not
Yeah.
necessarily the proxy of the deck by nature that is the issue. It's the
Mhm.
power level of what you're trying to do compared to the rest of us.
And
Yeah,
we're not
very
the
much.
cast to discuss this issue per se. Like it's been done to death. Go listen to an EDH podcast, and all of them have covered this.
We are an EDH podcast at heart.
Everything in Magic is an EDH. Everything. That's
We're a
the
deck
answer.
brewing podcast. This is Brainstorm Brewery. We want to hear about Corbin's mono white stacks deck back in 2011.
I had a sweet one, I'll tell you. Trading posts.
I
Proliferate.
mean, you had me at Trading Post.
All right, I'm going to jump in with the next breaking bulk here. I have a Modern Horizons 2 colorless uncommon.
Is it the 7 mana 4/4?
Nope.
I have not picked any Modern Horizons 2 bulk yet. I did just buy 2 reasonably large collections that have bulk in it. So I will finally get to acclimate myself with
The
some of
artifact
more
lands
recent...
are common.
It's
Question mark?
not, maybe, but it's not one of those.
So I
Is it
am
an
tapping
affinity
out of this
creature?
one. I
Nope,
am
it is an artifact and not a creature.
Is it Liquid Metal Torque?
It is. There you
That
go.
is a great card. I love Liquid Metal Torque.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Liquid Metal Torque is a 2-mana artifact. It's a mana rock. Tap to add a mana, or tap it to make a target non-land permanent artifact in addition to its other types until end of turn. So yeah, it's in the Liquid Metal Coating vein, and it's 75 cents. It's a real pick.
It's a great card.
Jason, what do you got?
I've also a real pick. And now you guys got me so self-conscious. I actually opened up the spreadsheet. So for those who don't know, people go to patreon.com/BSB and give us $10 a month, which is like $2 or $2.50 an episode. They have access to the spreadsheet where we put all our picks of the week and breakings bulk in there, so you can see them on Monday night when we record the cast. You know, you have that information written down. We update in real time, so you can have that information before anybody else. So like, we feel like our Patreon is it's a pretty good buy, because like, A, you're supporting the cast, but B, you are paying a small amount of money for early access to financial information before other people get it. We think that's cool. So people who have paid for that privilege know before they are listening to this, they knew days ago that this was not picked before, maybe this year, I guess, by any of us. I checked. It is a green uncommon from Gatecrash.
Is it tower defense?
It is not tower defense. You're embarrassing both of us.
Is Gatecrash the one where it said like there was a cycle where each color creature had an ability, like other blue creatures you control flying or something? I'm going to be thinking of a different set. Gatecrash, huh? So that was Simic? All right, so it's not tower defense. We had Simic, and I think we decided rule.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I tanked on this for a little while. I went through like my mental checklist of all the guild cards. I know there's no monocolored guild cards that would fit this
Then you
criteria.
went through a physical checklist of all the green uncommons in the set.
No, I didn't.
'Cause you're a
And
cheater.
so this is the Noah Bradley pick, right? It's not drawn by him, but it's Alpha Authority.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
This, 10 power rules.
that's actually a good call, DJ. I've actually picked those recently. That card is great.
Yeah, it's weird because like it's not objectively very good, but it does a thing that is very, very popular, and that means that it's a pick.
Which is make incels feel strong.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can Voltron to hell with that card. That's a good one.
It's weird that it's a green card because it's actually like a red pill.
Wow, you just changed your base to power and toughness with that one. Based in green.
I got a giggle out of Corbin. I'm content with that.
We got to get out of that one. Moving on.
We
All
just
right.
alienated the rest of our listeners.
Yeah, we've got everybody now. All right, let's move on though. Let's talk the main subject we want to kind of finance 101 through here tonight. How do you organize?
God, wait. Do we real talk? Do we really want like the episode where we want like our YouTube SEO get people to find our channel organically to be this one?
That's a good point.
Yeah, but like if they find this cast and they're still with us at the end, we're like, we got a patron there. We're not going for quantity, we're going for quality. We don't want non-paying listeners. We have enough freeloaders. What we want is someone who's like, all right, they're speaking my language. They haven't alienated me.
Well, in that case, look, and everyone else, you can just skip to we'll give you a timestamp. You can just skip to this part of the video. So if you skip to this part of the video, welcome.
You didn't hear anything Politico. I didn't mention that ivermectin is the red pill. None of that happened.
None of that happened, and here we are to talk about how we ship, sort, organize, pack our own Magic cards. So, for reference, we want to talk, this from the beginning on the way through. So, let's talk about if you are a player at home and you just have a lot of cards and you've got them in old booster boxes, you've got them in fat pack boxes, you've got them in shoe boxes, tubs. I've seen the works in collections that I buy. What, in y'all's opinion, is the most effective, cost-effective, and best way to sort and organize your Magic cards at home?
So, the answer to this depends entirely on what you are planning to do with your Magic cards.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a pretty straightforward step one, because the answer differs if you are a store, if you are trying to eventually be a store, if you are a player, if you are a collector, if you are... it depends on your deck building process. I can tell you, like, this is the most efficient answer if you want to build your commander deck. But there are some people who are just like, I don't know, man. I just want to flip through cards. So my deck building process is I will make something on Architect or Moxfield, and I will goldfish it a few times. I will narrow it down and say, okay, I have my 99 cards that I want to actually build with. And then I will go get those 99 cards, maybe 5 or 10 more flex slots, and then I will build the deck. Some people are just want to flip through and let the spirit take hold, let Jesus take the wheel, let their muse guide them, and just decide on a commander on the fly. So your process will be different. Personally, as a store, as somebody whose primary source of income is buying and selling Magic cards, my sorting method is sorting everything by set and then sorting everything alphabetically within set. That gives me the best ability to know what my inventory is, be able to quickly search for a card that somebody asks for, say, hey, do you have any lightning bolts? I can say, yes, I'll go check M10, M11, etc., etc. And then I sort everything differently based on if it's foil. If you are really, really into it, you can sort by condition, but that's a whole different bag of worms. 99% of the people listening to this will not benefit from that method. So, most Commander players, if you are just an average Joe Commander player, I would recommend sorting your playable cards and your most frequently used cards by color and then alphabetical.
Mm-hmm.
That is the general Joe, just average person. I've got my 6 or 7 Commander decks. I occasionally build one, take one apart every couple weeks. I would recommend you sort by color and then alphabetical, ignoring set, ignoring foiling, ignoring conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
That is how you will get the most effective way to just find find what you are looking for, and B, just still have that ability to flip through your pile of green and then try to find something you might want to fit in your deck.
I agree. I think that's actually a great way to break that down. When you have done that, DJ, what do you think people should keep their cards in? I mean, what should be in a binder versus what should be in boxes? And if so, what kind of boxes do you think people should use?
So you use the B word. I used a couple B words there, but the
yeah.
big B word is binder. I don't like binders.
Mm-hmm.
Binders are the enemy. Binders are a relic of a forgotten age. I would highly recommend, even if you're bringing cards to an event for some physical event and trading with another person that's not a vendor for whatever reason, I would recommend that you have them in some sort of small containable box that is easily flip throughable. Mm-hmm. And if you are just somebody that has trade stuff, I would recommend you just have them in a little BCW box. It gives you the most mobility in terms of taking them out, just keeping them organized. Because if you've ever tried to organize a binder, that is not a process that just happens and then works for the rest of I need to add a new slot for this other playset. Now the entire binder's reorganized.
It becomes an entire project.
I haven't traded out of a binder since 2 years before I stopped trading.
Right, yeah, exactly. And like
Um,
if you bring a binder to me at an event, or if you're selling cards to an LGS, like that's just it's a more time consuming
Just extra
process
work. Yeah.
for both you and the vendor you're selling to pull cards out of each individual sleeve. Just use a small BCW box. If you are looking to just have a large statically placed big collection, you can see behind me on the YouTube feed, I have many BCW 5 rows. You can see the little tag sticking out of them, set, sorted, and alphabetized all the way down on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So BCW boxes are going to be your best friend, and then you can sort of scale it down to what you already have. You're like, I'm a Magic player. I'm not going to spend $200 on boxes for my cards. That's fine. You can use fat pack boxes or something like that.
So what about protecting the cards in a box? Do you think people should be perfect fitting every card, penny sleeving every card, not sleeving their cards at all? What's probably the best way to actually take care of those cards so that they don't end up damaged by the time they try selling them to a vendor or trading to a friend?
I think it depends on you where the price point is. I think penny sleeving or perfect fitting. Penny sleeving seems like kind of a waste if you're going to play with the cards. If you're going to play with them, they should probably be perfect fitted, and you swap the perfect fit out as needed, which isn't that often because the outside sleeve is the one that takes the real beating. So if you just want to do $10 and up or $20 and up or $50 and up, I have everything that's worth $50 and up in a perfect sleeve, in a sleeve, in a top loader. That's just how like I keep those up right in a box. Anything $50 and up, it's just until I can sell it. That's a good way for that. But those are cards I play with. If you're going to play with a card, I think keeping them in perfect fits at all times is probably a good idea, because as you flip through cards, they will scrape on each other, and reducing friction damage inside the box is, that's probably your best bet. And don't put them in a box that isn't full, because if the cards lean over, they're going to get bent.
Yeah, I was going to say, something that I really highly recommend, even if you're just somebody with a smaller collection, these little foams, you can buy these on Amazon. These little square, and they don't even have to be like pre-cut. You can just buy a sheet of this sort of like industrial foam and then cut it to your liking. These fit very well. You can sort of see I have this box right here, again on the YouTube feed. This piece of foam keeps the cards separated, organized, and prevents transit when shuffling around. So I would recommend using these foams. Dividers are always great. These again, we are not sponsored by BCW, but these are the brand that most people generally use is BCW. And
you can go directly to BCW's website to buy the 5 rows, and that's what I would. If you're somebody who says I've got 25,000 cards, I want to do this. You're probably, support your LGS, right? That needs to be said, step one. But you go to other generic hobby stores, your vintage stocks of the world, and these boxes are going to be 2 or 3 times what they cost you to just get them online. So just keep that in mind if you are looking. I'm going to second the foam padding though, because those are great for everything DJ mentioned, but also getting into the next part of this, when you ship your cards, say you're shipping out a buy list to Card Kingdom or Channel Fireball or TCG Player or wherever, one of the things that you end up with a lot is you usually decide that I'm going to sell 400 cards exactly, and they're going to fit perfectly tight into this little box. You just sell what you've got, and then at the end you end up with an irregular amount of cards that doesn't fit perfectly into whatever. And then that's where I usually take old deck boxes that I've gotten in collections, that I just have a bunch of the inexpensive ones. If that's the size I have, if I have closer to a fat pack box, I'll put them in a fat pack box, and I'll use those foam to tighten it up, because whenever you ship your cards, you want to make sure there's as little movement as possible. So that means there's a little movement back and forth, whether that's by either packing the cards or packing things like that foam in there to fill up the space, but also packing on top. You got to keep in mind that you're looking at 3 dimensions. So you don't need to just pack them tight end to end. You need to make sure that if somebody shakes that box up and down, they're not going to go flying up at the top and start damaging them. And you can also then use either, packing foam or if you have something that fits those foam pads CJ had, you can even use something as simple as, folding up a paper towel to get in there, anything that just will keep it tight so that you can take it and shake it and not have any issues with them bouncing around, because they're going to get bounced around in the mail.
Just add more cards to your buy list order. If they buy bulk rares, that's how I shim boxes. If there's room in there for 50 more cards, I just sell them 50 bulk rares. They'll always take them. bulk rares are practically, it's like prison money, right? Like if you do any sort of MTG finance transactions, you'll hit people up as like, I'm putting together instant collections. I need 200 bulk rares. I don't care what they are. Or, you know, I use them to pad out an order instead of putting in something that costs me, even if it costs me nothing, like a newspaper or something like that. I would rather, if I'm paying for the shipping, I would rather just get those boxes full with something they're going to give me money for. So,
oh yeah, for sure. And I mean,
the stores who buy cards are always buying bulk rares, and they don't care what they are, and you don't care what they are. So just shim your boxes with that.
When it comes to shipping and selling larger quantities of biohazards too, I mean, I've had people sell me collections, and I've had every manner of card storage sent to me. But if you're shipping something that fits in a medium or large US flat rate, you are going to want to Tetris together some of the smaller BCW and or fat pack and or bundle and or whatever deck boxes together. You are going to have extra room in there. And I just grabbed this little bag of, you can buy like packing peanuts on bulk from eBay for like $5 for this giant bag. It's not particularly expensive.
Spend more and get the cornstarch ones that you can dissolve in the sink. They're more eco-friendly, and nobody wants styrofoam packing peanuts. Nobody wants
I did not know that was a thing, so thank you, Jason.
Yeah. Get the they cost a little bit more, but like nobody wants packing peanuts. They're a pain in the ass to get rid of. Like they end up in a landfill. Just packing peanuts suck. That's
I knew they were not the best for the environment, but I didn't know the
I'm sure Thomas
so.
Midgley is the guy that invented the packing peanut. Like I'm sure the guy that invented leaded gasoline and chlorofluorocarbons. I'm sure that was like his last invention before he invented a bed that strangled him. Look him up. That guy sucks. Packing peanuts suck. Just get the cornstarch ones.
All right. Good to know. Well, one other note on that then, as far as, let's say you're putting together a buy list order at home, you're shipping it out to Card Kingdom. You've done all of it. You've packed up your bags. You've taken it to the post office. It's going to cost you whatever it costs you. And you've got $500 in this little box that you're sending off across the country. What are the best ways to, outside of packing it tight within your box? I mean, what about insurance? Is insurance something you want to look at? Is that something that's worth it to you? Where does that make sense and where does it not?
So the first step of that equation is, before you even go to the post office, I would generally recommend going to paypal.com/shipnow. Editor will put that link in the description. It is just a way to pay for postage for the USPS or any other shipping service from your house and print a label. And then you can just cut out that label, tape it on the box, and then you can just drop it off at the USPS. You're spending minimal time in contact with other human beings.
You can arrange for them to pick it up from your house. They will drop you off the big like laundry basket looking things that you can put all your orders in, and they will arrange a time to pick them up because you're giving them lots of money.
Yep. So, you can do that, and then it'll be just a little bit cheaper than actually going to the USPS store. Like, a medium flat rate is like $13 if you print it from PayPal, and it's like $15 if you go to the actual post office. So you save a bit of money there. The second bit... What's that?
It's $15.50.
Okay.
Take it from a guy who knows.
And when it comes to insurance, it is definitely going to be... I mean, the purpose of insurance is for you to... protect yourself against the low odds of something horrible happening and you losing out on a large amount of money all at once. I personally, as somebody that ships out a lot of cards every year, I do not insure my packages unless they are over $10,000. I insure power and tie-in stuff when I ship it, and that's it. I do not insure dual lands. I ship dual lands in $3 bubble mailers. That's just the way I do it, because I have such a high volume that like the odds of something happening are low enough that the cost of actually insuring all of those packages is higher than my incurred losses by missing mail.
It's a math equation.
Yes.
It's a less than 1% occurrence, so the fact that you would be paying, you're basically paying more than the cost of a dual land every time you over insure. Yeah.
Yes.
That said, and I knew that's where we kind of all of us land on this. That said, if you are somebody who doesn't have a massive collection, you're sending one order, you're sending one $500 package of all your stuff to Card Kingdom or wherever else. If you want to pay the money to insure it, it's the peace of mind is worth something to you as well.
It's also a bit of a gamble. I mean, I
fighting
have
with the insurance is a thing.
Yeah, getting the insurance payout is another
Yeah,
emotional and financial and time investment on your behalf. So,
Yeah.
like, I tend to recommend people not insure their items unless they are, again, sending me like a multi-$1,000 collection to the mail. Then I'd be like, yeah, I don't see the fault in that. You should probably do that. If this is sort of your last hurrah getting out of Magic, like, yeah, give yourself the peace of mind. But in general, I don't think it's generally worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
That said, we are in the DeJoy era where your local post office probably got rid of everything that looked like it could be used to ship a ballot, and some of those are used to sort packages. So
it's just like, it's all relative to what your time and your peace of mind is worth, right? Because
if you're sending one thing, go ahead and insure it, just because we're like, it happens less than 1% of the time, but you don't want to get time you sent a thing out that whole year to be a blowout.
Right, exactly.
So not all of us send $10,000 buy list orders at Card Kingdom. A lot of us are just like, hey, I have an extra card. I went on Twitter. I sold it to some person. What do I do for that? I will send like 3 or 4 cards in a plain white envelope. So generally people aren't buying 25 cards from me. If I'm doing a Twitter sale, they're buying 1 or 2 cards from me. A plain white envelope is fine. They sell special non-machinable stamps, so you don't have to use the 15-cent extra stamp. You go to like any cheap make your own business card website online, and they will sell you rubber stamps. I have 1 rubber stamp with my address that I stamp in the corner of every envelope, and I have 1 with red ink that says "Do not machine." You just stamp that on the envelope, and they won't machine it. Yep, just like DJ's got. You stamp "Do not machine" on the envelope, and you either put an extra 15-cent or whatever the additional fair stamp is, or there are special non-machinable stamps. You use that. You put it in a plain white envelope. What I like to do is I like to put the card in a sleeve. I put it in the top loader with the bottom like open. So this is closed, so the card can't slide out. Mm-hmm. And then even if it's 1 card, I will put it in, these are called team bags or buddy bags. They're little polypropylene bags that they're called team bags because if you wanted to jam a bunch of cards in here, you could jam like a whole baseball team's worth of cards into the bag. Now, what the team bag does is prevents the card from sliding out. I put the open part of the top loader at the bottom. I put it in the buddy bag, and then I seal it up. And if you have another card that you want to sell, don't use a top loader. Just put it in a sleeve, just like a regular just Dragon Shield type sleeve. And I put them both in the buddy bag, and they can't slide around. The bag is tight enough that the card can't slide past the edge of the top loader and get bent. I have had 0 issues with that. The buddy bags are cheap. They're cheaper than top loaders, which are getting so expensive that people are starting to look into Shipping Shield and other like cardboard things like that, because with the Suez Canal being all jammed up and stuff like that, just shipping has been nuts in the Rona era, and it's been tough to get top loaders. If you can even get them, they're like 50 cents a piece, which has been kind of brutal. I can buy them at cost for my LGS because I have the case there. That's helped me out, but other people pay a lot more than I do, and sometimes it's not feasible to use top loaders. I buy enough cards that enough top loaders are sent to me that like I always have enough to do Twitter sales. But if you wanted to look into something else, like a cardboard sleeve works fine. But for me, I have a lifetime supply of top loaders that I bought when they were cheap because I was lucky. And I just use the buddy bags, which are also very cheap and not as jammed up as the top loaders. So you don't have to put tape on the top loader if you use a buddy bag. And the buddy bags are reusable. So the person who has them at the other end can use them. It's a great way to just know that your card is not going to slide around inside the envelope, and anything sticking past the edge of the top loader could get bent, but the buddy bag conforms the sides of the card so they can't get past the edge of the top loader, so everything is rigid. And since you paid extra for them not to machine it, for the most part, they won't run it through a machine that could rip open the envelope. So when I just... DJ's talking about sending dual lands in a plain white envelope. I mean, I'm not selling $1 cards in a Twitter sale. Everything's like $25 and up, but still, on $25 card, I'm perfectly fine putting in a top loader in a buddy bag, put it in a plain white envelope. I have so few lost orders that it's not even worth stressing out and doing more than that. So if you're just selling a couple cards on Twitter or whatever, or, you know, you make a trade in a Discord with somebody or something like that, that is going to be sufficient for 95% of those trades. Like a $100 plus card, I might put it in a that you can't track those. So if they want tracking, you'll have to put it in a padded mailer. But if they don't require tracking, plain white envelope is fine.
So my numbers for when I sell cards PWE, I do not ever pay for the non-machinable. I just always pay for the 55-cent stamp. You can fit up to 2 cards in a single top loader, so front and back. I just generally put them facing backwards each other. You can fit up to 12 cards in a single penny sleeve, and then you can fit up to 28 cards in a single, like, regular size, like 9x11 envelope. You can fit 28 cards in this thing, which requires 2 stamps when you have 28 cards in it. Mm-hmm. You have those 2 buddy bags, like Jason said, and then you have 2 cards in each individual top loader. So you have 2 top loaders back to back facing each other, and then you have 12 cards in each of the penny sleeves, and then you have those all set. So you have 28 cards total.
I mean, you can get, this is great. This is if you are out there and you're trying to get your own operation off the ground, this is great information.
It's 28 cards total for $1.10 shipping, or in stamps plus paper plus whatever.
Mm-hmm. The jumping cost between the cheapest padded mailer and like the most expensive PWE you can put together, it actually makes sense to jam as much in a plain white envelope as you can, because you're really going up in cost both for the materials and for the shipping.
And just the time, like the physical time investment to like print the label and everything is higher for the bubble mailer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I will do 1 to 28 cards in a plain white envelope. Anything over 29 cards is automatically tracked, and my tracking threshold for regular cards back when I was starting out was $25. So back when I was starting out, I would track anything over $25. I am now at the point where I only track $100 or more.
All right, there you go. All right, one other thing we want to touch on here that we didn't hit earlier is, you can see it in Jason's background there, but sorting trays. How do you, we're talking about, well, this is how you sort your cards and you put them into a box alphabetized. Well, get a sorting tray like DJ's holding up there. Do exactly what he has there. Put the letters on it. Use that to sort. That way you don't have a million piles on your table or on your living room floor. Sorting trays are the truth. They make everything much easier.
I won't tell you which company sells them, but
so if somebody wants to get one of those fancy sorting trays, where's the best place to acquire those?
Mine are also BCW brand. I have heard positive and negative things about some other brands, some from Cool Stuff. There's a couple of other brands I've witnessed other stores using, but the BCW ones are the ones I prefer myself. They have 24 open slots, so you generally just angle your cards perpendicularly in the 4 larger zones for anything that's Y and Z, and then you also just have a couple other perpendicular zones for like foils or non-English or just other
promotional
ancillary.
Is usually a pile.
Don't put them horizontally, because you have to lift the whole tray to get those cards out.
Just don't put them like in this way. Angle them perpendicularally, and then when you have them angled in perpendicularly, you get the other section. So it's a thing. Yeah.
All right. Well,
when you go to the BCW website, use the promo code Brew Crew, because like at this point they owe us a sponsorship, and hopefully by the time this episode's air, we will have worked that out.
Yeah, maybe tweet at BCW, say, "Hey, Brainstorm Brewery recommended you," and I went and purchased all these boxes and sorting trays. But you know what?
And they're like, "We're a sport card supply site. We don't even know what this Magic the Gathering shit is, but I used to bully the kids who play Magic the Gathering back when I was on the baseball team, and no, we're not going to I don't know.
There goes the
BCW
sponsorship.
a bully."
Well,
Wow.
hopefully this information was helpful. If anybody has any questions about any of this or anything we didn't touch on, you maybe want to know more, shoot us an email to brainstormbrew@gmail.com, and we will try to address it in a future episode.
And we might actually read your email.
We might. All right. And speaking of emails, I think we have one we want to read this week before we move on. DJ, fire it up. Let's hear it.
So this one is from Joseph DeRochers. Mystery Booster pickups, parentheses, $20 patron, end parentheses. Brew Crew without a space, comma. With the influx of Mystery Booster Convention Edition, I think the increased volume of some higher priced common and uncommon EDH/modern cards will cause their prices to decrease, and there may be some good pickups. My list of pickup targets include Shattering Spree, Lotus Petal, Triumph of the Hordes, Mistress Bauble, Umbra Mantle, Aura Shards, Ashnod's Altar. I chose uncommon and common cards because their volume should increase enough to move prices. I think the demand is high for chase mythics and rares, and their prices won't move as much. What do you think, Brew Crew? Thanks, Joey D, sent from my work laptop.
I appreciate the throwback meme there, Joey D.
For those wondering what the throwback meme is, when you send an email to brainstormbrew@gmail.com, you have to include some ridiculously untrue or true place as to, or object or device as to what you sent that email from.
Sent from my iPhone style.
Yeah, I think my favorite is still Sheikah Salte.
That was a good one.
Instead of Sheikah Slate.
That was a good one for sure.
Various Nintendo devices.
Yep. All right. Well, addressing this question, Jason, what's your take on that?
It's going to be tough for some of the commons and uncommons to really recover, but I don't think the set is really injecting that much supply. I think the set is hard enough for LGSs to get and fun enough to draft that I think the majority of these cards are going to end up in the hands of players. So if the price comes down at all, I think it's possible the stuff will rebound at least on like already expensive chase uncommons and rares and mythics.
I think there's still a lot of time for all this stuff to drop because there will be a drip supply of people drafting continuously throughout the next several months as players come out of the woodwork to participate in in-person events.
So I wouldn't buy anything now. I would wait till the price like craters and then looks like it's starting to recover. Like, don't buy it when it's still going down. Wait till it recovers a little bit. You never want to grab a falling knife. So I think on some of that stuff, especially anything that's modern playable, I think we are at a point where modern was just in the toilet for like a year or more because modern sucks, but also because of coronavirus. And now people have decided they don't care if they get coronavirus, so they're playing in the LGS more. Modern could get played a little bit more. So I think stuff like Shattering Spree and like other modern uncommons are a very decent bet. You're already starting to see some modern rares that were reprinted in sets like TSR start to go back up. So anything that you think is modern playable, I think has the most room to grow because the whole format was depressed. Yeah. EDH stuff is fine as a pickup because EDH is like the number one price moving format. And, EDH stuff is also always good. But I think modern has the most potential just on the basis of it's going to go from like being trash and no one plays it to we got Modern Horizons. The set is the format's reinvigorated. Plus people are starting to play it in paper where they didn't really play it other places before.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm on board with that. And I think the one thing Jason said I want to touch on is he said, don't catch a falling knife. I think the way that, we've always coined it is leave the last 10% to the next guy. And that applies when cards are going up. You don't have to wait for the absolute peak to try to sell because you'll probably miss it. But it also applies to when cards are going down. If you think a card's bottoming out, there's nothing wrong with picking them up at that point. But you can also wait to see when a card has started to tick back up. Because if you pay 10% more on a card in exchange for not risking it continuing to drop after you've bought it, if you're pretty confident it's on its way back up, that 10% you lose by not buying at the absolute bottom doesn't matter. you have the cards at the right times, and they kind of, you can insulate yourself against the risk of them going back down just by following the trends on the graphs. So and all of these graphs, of course, you want to look at our sponsor mtgstocks.com. The best we've talked about all these cards going up, going down, percentages. It's all there on MTG Stocks. This is where we get all of our information when it comes to historical price trajectories. This is what we use to make our picks of the week, which are coming up next every week, because it just gives you so much information just looking at it. Now that this website's been around for a decade or so, you can go back so far on cards, and it's just so much information at your fingertips to allow you to make educated guesswork when it comes to picks and when it comes to the trajectory of cards.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
All right, so with that said, I'm going to kick things off here with a, and I'm curious, this is a 3-mana rock. We've kind of seen the return of 3-mana rocks a little bit to Commander. So I'm curious what you all think about the card Skyclave Relic. It's $2, and I talked about, apropos of what we just talked about, it bottomed out earlier this year at about $1.50, and it has climbed up to about $2 very slowly, and looks like maybe it's starting to push a little more. I mean, it's a 3-mana indestructible artifact, can add 1 mana of any color, so it's a Darksteel Ingot at worst, but for kicker, you can create 2 copies of it if you pay 3 kicker. So where are you at on 3-mana rocks these days in the Commander format, and specifically Skyclave Relic?
Not a fan.
It's going up, and people talk about 10,000 decks on EDH Rec like that's like a threshold that you want it to hit. This isn't over 10,000 decks, which really blows my mind, because I don't think this card is that great. But a lot of people are playing it. So once I started looking at EDH Rec data a lot and stopped arguing with the data if it didn't conform to how I play the game, I would never play this card. But 10,000 decks in the last however long since this was printed, 18 months. So
yeah. And for me, I always start with a graph and then go to EDH Rec secondly when I'm looking at stuff. And this is a card, like I said, it's just climbed up at a decent rate. It's got a little bit of momentum. It's not gone really low. It's it's something that could get reprinted, sure, just like anything else. But it's just a card that has a pretty decent price point. Right now at $2, and you can get the full art versions for just a little bit more, for a quarter more. So it's just, I was curious what you all thought about it, because I think 3-mana rocks are making a comeback a little bit. We've seen more of them that have upside, like Skyclave Relic, to get you away from sort of the Darksteel Ingot days and get a little more oomph out of your mana rocks. So
I am personally not a huge fan of this card, but I accept the possibility that I am wrong. I think there are better places to put your money currently, but I will end with that. And
I think that's fair. Go ahead.
Is a card called Immerwolf. We talked. I'm talking about Immerwolf.
Did you say Inner Wolf? Is this about the 2 wolves that are inside you?
The COVID wolf?
They both don't play Skyclave Relic.
So my pick is kind of Immerwolf, but I was dancing between 2. There was that internal struggle, Jason. So I'll go with a dual pick of the week. They're effectively the same card. Immerwolf is the first one. This is the uncommon lord from Dark Ascension that prevents your non-humans from transforming back, so it makes your werewolves stay transformed. It shot up to $3 when Shadows over Innistrad came out.
Which is crazy, because the flipping is not going to be a mechanic they're going to revisit in Twilight.
I think it is, man.
Double-faced cards are integral to the design of Innistrad at this point. We will absolutely see double-faced cards. And the second card that I'm picking that's in the same vein is Stromkirk Captain.
Okay.
It's a vampire, and I said in the same vein. Corbin.
What?
You started this with a cat pun. I'm ending the cast with a vampire pun.
Gosh. Okay. Stromkirk Captain, you're all about the 3-mana Dark Ascension Lords here. I like it.
Yeah, I mean the first set, the first fall set that we're getting is werewolf themed. The second fall set that we're getting is vampire themed. It's Crimson Vow. This is we saw this card just do a lot of work in the vampire precon. It's just It is just one of those cards that when new players enter the game and they get their first werewolf deck, they get their first vampire deck, they will flock to these kinds of cards as they interact with Magic on a deeper level because they didn't know they existed before. Copies will dry up, and these sub $1 uncommons will be reaching new heights.
Did you know that Stromkirk Captain is an anagram of Captain Kirk Storm, which is what I call my Trouble with Tribbles deck that uses Chatterfang? So I got a card that's kind of on the basis of one of the more popular commanders that I don't think people realize is one of the more popular commanders from AFR. Gallia, Kindler of Hope, is actually second only to Prosper, which is not something anybody really anticipated necessarily. So Gallia is kind of like, hey, we finally gave you another Bruna type card, but with green this time. So it's pretty cool to have a Voltron commander in Bant, which is something I've wanted for a while.
Isn't Tuvasa the same kind of vibe? Like, they're one of the Bant C18 decks.
Yeah, exactly. So that was 3-4 years ago. So it's been a minute. Yeah, Tuvasa is pretty cool.
Wait, what did you say the name of this commander is?
Gallia, Kindler of Hope.
That irritates me.
Why?
Because they literally already used the name Gallia for that one Theros rule legend.
It's true. It's true. There is Gallia, Gallia, and Gallia, Galea.
Well, I'm sure it's Galea, and I'm sure someone that's played Dungeons and Dragons since first edition.
True.
Is like, on your podcast, you pronounce Galea, Kindler of Hope, as Gallia, and I'm very upset. And I sent you a voice recording so you can tell us what my voice sounds like.
Yeah. This was actually one of the top 5 most built commanders on EDHREC data over the past week. So Jason's absolutely right. People like this one.
And people will really like the fact that there is a sub $10 replenish available for that deck.
Oh, is your pick Retether?
Yeah.
Yes, I love Retether. I've loved that card so much.
Retether rules. Retether is under $10. It is a replenish for all intents and purposes in any Voltron deck. There will be more Voltron decks in the future. Are they going to reprint Retether? I don't know. It's a planar chaos card. That seems weird. I really like this card. And
I have
people
loved
who are
this
building
for so long.
Gallia,
It's one of those.
Elfia, Kindler of Elf, people have access to, again, can't emphasize this enough, a sub $10 replenish. You can get these for around $5 some places for now. Buy Retether under 10.
This is a card that I picked as like a skill borrower / necrotic ooze / like heartless summoning pick back in like 2014 or 20. I have stockpiled these for years. Just waiting.
And it never paid off, and now I'm finally agreeing with you. And it's going to go up in price closer to when I recommended it, so it's going to look like you were wrong and I was right. Like, you're a movie that critics hated because it was 20 years before its time, and I'm the guy that like rode the crest of like the zeitgeist being ready for it.
Maybe, but with the number of Retethers I have, I'm going to be the Bitcoin guy from 2009. Like,
What, you spend it all on a pizza?
I used to bulk these out. I'm the guy that bought the pizza because I used to bulk out Retether.
Well, there you go. We hit Bitcoin. We've hit all the YouTube metrics for the week. I think we're good here.
There was one like angry red pill dude who's been shit on this entire episode. It's like, come on! Why am I still listening? They clearly hate me as a person. Well, we will be nice to you if you become a $20 patron and go to patreon.com/BSB. Give us $20 a month and be like, stop making fun of me specifically and everything I value. We won't do that, but we'll read your email.
I will.
Perfect. Everybody, thank you.
To that person, to the pilled person who listens to our cast, I will personally replace your $20 Patreon pledge gift with heart deworming pills. That is a promise.
Yeah, DJ
I will
depriving the
swap
cows.
out the playmat. I will make sure you, instead of, or in addition to a drinking glass, I will make sure you get something that I bought at a Tractor Supply store. That is a personal promise.
Wow, and
all
that is
the fish antibiotics that and look, you need fish antibiotics. You can't go to the hospital anyway. Your whole family is there on respirators.
This is Brainstorm Brewery, everybody. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week.
You had to have an indoor wedding.
Like, the Red Pill guy is making fun of us, but we're the ones that are Brainstorm Brewery.